My parents had gone away for the weekend, leaving me to enjoy some solitude in the comfort of our old creaky house. As the hours ticked by, I settled into my routine of watching movies and snacking on whatever I could find in the kitchen. The wind howled outside, creating an eerie symphony. It was during one of those moments, as I sat on the couch engrossed in a suspenseful film, that I heard it, a strange noise, faint but unmistakable. I paused the movie, straining my ears to catch any further sounds. At first, I dismissed it as the wind playing tricks on me, but as the noise persisted, my curiosity turned into a gnawing sense of unease. It seemed to be coming from the basement. Reluctantly, I made my way towards the basement door, each step echoing through the empty house. The closer I got, the louder the noise became. It was a low, guttural growl that gave me the chills. Fear gripped me, but I couldn't ignore, so I needed to investigate. With trembling hands, I reached for the doorknob, hesitating for a moment before turning it. The door creaked open, revealing the dark abyss of the basement. I flicked the light switch, but nothing happened. Panic started to rise within me as I fumbled for my phone, using its flashlight to navigate the stairs leading down. The growling grew louder, and I could feel my heart pounding against my chest. The air in the basement was thick with an unsettling presence. Every step I took felt like a battle against an invisible force, urging me to turn back. But I couldn't, not when I knew there was something lurking in the darkness. As I made my way through the basement, the growling intensified, and I could hear a scraping sound as if something was moving against the concrete floor. My mind raced, conjuring up images of sinister creatures waiting to pounce on me. But I had to push those thoughts aside and focus on finding the source of the noise. I reached the far corner of the basement, where a stack of old boxes obscured my view. As I cautiously moved them aside, my heart skipped a beat. There, in the dim light of my phone, I saw a pair of evil red eyes staring back at me. It was a creature, unlike anything I had ever seen before. Its matted fur and sharp claws sent a surge of terror through my veins. The creature let out a menacing growl, its eyes filled with a hunger that chilled me to the bone. I stumbled backward, desperately searching for an escape route. Panic took hold of me as I realized that I was trapped by this unknown entity. In a desperate attempt to defend myself, I grabbed a nearby broom, using it as a makeshift weapon. The creature lunged at me, its sharp teeth bared, but I managed to fend it off, striking it with all my strength. We engaged in a horrifying battle, the basement becoming a battleground for survival. With each blow, the creature grew weaker, until finally, it retreated into the shadows. Exhausted and shaken, I collapsed to the floor, my mind reeling from the encounter. I knew I had escaped a terrible fate, but the scars, both physical and emotional, would forever remind me of the horror I had faced that night. Ever since that night, I can never truly feel at ease in that house. The memories of the creature and its menacing growl continue to haunt me. I have since moved away, seeking solace in a new environment. But I can't help but wonder if that creature still lurks in the depths of the basement, waiting for its next victim. Late one ominous night, as I prepared to retire to my bed, a strange feeling compelled me to glance out of the window. What I saw sent a chill down my spine and froze the blood in my veins. A man, dressed in a doctor's plague mask, stood motionless and fixated on my house. My heart raced as I tried to comprehend the sinister sight before me. Who was this mysterious figure? What did he want? The mask obscured his face, rendering his intentions hidden and his identity unknown. Panic began to set in, but I reassured myself that it must be an elaborate prank, someone's twisted attempt to scare me. With a deep breath, I turned away from the window, determined to dismiss the unnerving encounter. However, the unease lingered, and a feeling of being watched. As if on cue, the sound of footsteps began to echo through the house, creeping up the stairs with an agonizing slowness. Fear gripped me, and I instinctively sought refuge in the shadows. My mind raced with terrifying possibilities. Was this person a deranged stalker or something even more sinister? Thoughts of intruders and harm flooded my mind, causing my pulse to quicken. I strained my ears, listening intently to the approaching footsteps. They grew louder, each thud resonating with a foreboding rhythm. My heart pounded in my chest, threatening to burst through my ribcage. The air grew heavy with an oppressive silence, broken only by the creaking of each step. As the footsteps drew nearer, I desperately searched for a hiding place, a sanctuary from the unknown intruder. Panic surged through me, urging me to find safety before it was too late. With trembling hands, I slipped into the dimly lit closet, praying that my hiding spot would prove sufficient. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs, their sound magnified in the silence of the house. Each step seemed to linger, sending icy tendrils of fear coiling around my heart. I held my breath, straining to hear any indication of the intruder's location. Suddenly, a chilling realization struck me. The footsteps were growing closer, moving in my direction. Terror threatened to consume me, but I fought to maintain my composure. I couldn't let fear paralyze me. I had to stay alert and ready to defend myself. The closet door creaked open, and I held my breath, praying that my presence would go unnoticed. Shadows danced on the walls as the intruder paced the room, a predator searching for its prey. Time seemed to stretch out endlessly as I willed myself to remain hidden. In the midst of the suffocating silence, a voice pierced through the darkness. "Where are you?" It whispered, an eerie tone that made my blood run cold. The words hung in the air, an unspoken threat lurking within their depths. Fear threatened to consume me, but I refused to succumb. Minutes turned into hours as I remained hidden, my body tense with anticipation. The footsteps eventually receded, fading into the distance as the intruder moved away. I stayed hidden, unsure if it was safe to emerge from my hiding place. The silence that enveloped the house was oppressive, suffocating me with its weight. After what felt like an eternity, I summoned the courage to venture out of the closet. I tiptoed through the house, my senses on high alert, searching for any sign of the intruder's presence. But to my relief, there was no trace of him. It was as if he had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the lingering dread. The incident left me shaken to the core, forever altering my perception of safety and security. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The memory of that sinister figure seared into my mind. The questions remained unanswered, the identity and purpose of the intruder forever shrouded in mystery. From that night onward, I became hypervigilant, ensuring that my home was fortified against any potential threat. I installed security systems, reinforced locks, and constantly checked the perimeter. The sense of safety I once took for granted had been shattered, replaced by a constant sense of unease. Though the incident remained unresolved, life eventually returned to a semblance of normalcy. But the memory of that horror story lived on, a constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk just beyond our walls. It taught me the importance of remaining vigilant, of trusting my instincts, and of never underestimating the potential dangers that may lie in wait. I awoke in the middle of the night to the sound of piercing screams reverberating from the house next door. I knew that something was terribly wrong, and I had to take action. Without hesitation, I grabbed my phone and dialed 999, praying for a swift response from the authorities. With each step I took towards the source of the disturbing noise, my heart pounded louder in my chest. Fear and concern intertwined within me, urging me to proceed cautiously. As I approached the neighbor's house, the intensity of the screams grew stronger, filling the air with an aura of terror. The front door was slightly ajar, a foreboding invitation into the unknown. I pushed it open, my hands trembling, and entered the house. The scene that greeted me was beyond comprehension. The living room was in utter chaos, furniture overturned, and blood splattered across the walls. The gruesome sight sent waves of horror crashing over me. I had stumbled upon a true nightmare. I navigated through the disarray, my senses on high alert. The screams seemed to be coming from the upper floor, leading me up the stairs with a mixture of trepidation and determination. As I ascended, the sound grew louder, echoing through the hallways like a haunting symphony of despair. And then, I saw him. Standing at the top of the stairs was a man, his eyes wide with madness and a sinister grin etched across his face. It was the same man I had seen on the news just a few days ago, a notorious serial killer who had managed to evade capture. My blood ran cold, realizing the danger I was in. I had inadvertently stumbled upon a scene of horror and found myself face to face with a deranged killer. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I quickly retreated to a safe distance, keeping a watchful eye on the man. I dialed 999 once more, updating the emergency operator about the situation at hand. Help was on the way, but time seemed to stretch infinitely as I waited for their arrival. The man's eyes locked onto mine, his gaze filled with a chilling mix of malice and amusement. He began to move towards me, his steps slow and deliberate, as if savoring the fear that emanated from his prey. Panic threatened to overwhelm me, but I fought to stay focused, determined to survive this harrowing encounter. Suddenly, the sound of sirens pierced the night, growing louder with each passing moment. The flashing lights illuminated the darkened street, a beacon of hope in the midst of this nightmarish ordeal. The man's demeanor shifted, his confidence waning as he realized his time was running out. In a final act of desperation, he lunged towards me, a knife glinting in his hand. With quick reflexes, I sidestepped his attack, narrowly avoiding the sharpened blade. The police arrived just in time, rushing in to apprehend the deranged killer. It was a chaotic scene, a whirlwind of flashing lights and shouting voices as the officers subdued the man. Relief washed over me as I watched the police take him away, knowing that he would no longer pose a threat to anyone else. The nightmare was over, but the scars left behind would forever serve as a reminder of the horrors I had witnessed that night. In the days that followed, the community rallied together, offering support and solace to those affected by the killer's rampage. We vowed to not let fear consume us, but rather to stand united against the darkness that threatened our peace of mind. Life gradually returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the echoes of that night haunted me. The screams, the chaos, and the face of the deranged killer remained etched in my memory. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of remaining vigilant. As I lay in bed at night, I sometimes still hear the distant echoes of those screams, a chilling reminder of the horrors I witnessed. But I take solace in the fact that justice prevailed, and the community can begin to heal from the wounds inflicted by the deranged killer. We must remember to cherish each day and hold our loved ones close, for in the darkness, there is always a glimmer of light.